Hi, I'm Laura Miller, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Agent for Commercial Horticulture in Tarrant County. And today I'd like to take you along on a visit to the Cowtown Farmers Market. We'll talk about shopping at the market, we'll talk about local food production, and we'll meet some farmers. Come on! I'm here with one of my program committee members, Farmer Craig Turley of Turley's Fruity and Veggie Farm. And
Hi.
we are at a farmers market today. And Craig is a member of the North Central Texas Farmers Market Association. They run several markets under the Cowtown Farmers Market banner and are an organization of farmers that has joined together to hold farmers markets so that they can market their products. There are lots of different kinds of businesses that can be called farmers markets. Some of them are basically just reselling wholesale produce. And others are actual farmers retailing their produce in a store or a stand. But the Cowtown Farmers Market is run by a group of farmers who've gotten together, formed an organization, and set up to be able to market their produce directly to consumers. This market we're at today, is actually a cooperation with the Tarrant Area Food Bank to bring fresh produce into areas that are somewhat underserved by grocery stores and other opportunities to purchase fresh produce. So that's where we are today. Craig, you want to tell us a little bit about your farm and selling at the market?
This is my ninth year to be a commercial grower. I specialize in peppers and strawberries, would be what I'd like to be known for, but apparently I'm known for peppers. I'm sorry, not peppers, but strawberries and okra is what everybody seems to know me for. But I have 13 varieties of peppers that I grow, 11 varieties of tomatoes that I grow, and it's just great being able to go to the market and provide good, fresh, healthy food to people that are used to just buying the grocery store food and don't really understand what real vegetables taste like. And that's one of the reasons I do it.
And I would say that's one of the biggest benefits to anybody shopping at a farmer's market is that you are going to get probably tomatoes that were harvested yesterday versus tomatoes that were harvested a few weeks ago, kept for a while, let to ripen, and then brought to your store. So you get really fresh produce when you shop at a farmer's market, and that's one of the biggest benefits. You also get the opportunity to support your local farmers, which is also great.
And ask them questions.
You can talk to them about how they grow things, what they're growing. If you have a request for something, you can ask them for it, and they usually are pretty responsive to that. The thing you don't get at a farmer's market, and we'll look at Craig's table and we'll kind of walk around and look a little bit more, is you don't have the complete selection of stuff that you might have in the grocery store. For example, here in Fort Worth, you're never going to find avocados at the farmer's market because that's a subtropical crop that we just can't grow. So
I was asked for some bananas today, and I explained that we don't grow bananas in Texas. So.
Right. So there's just going to be the things that are seasonally available in the area where you live, which is great, but also you've got to kind of know what to expect when you go shop at a farmer's market.
And another thing about going to a farmer's market, you need to get here early. As you can see, I don't have a lot left. I brought 11 different varieties of peppers today. I had, I think I brought 9 different varieties of tomatoes. I had green beans, squash, cucumbers, just a variety of things, and now I barely have anything left. So always get to a farmer's market early.
Yep, I'm like a garage sale.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm here with Susan Barker from the Tarrant Area Food Bank, and the Tarrant Area Food Bank has a partnership with the Cowtown Farmers Market today, and I just wanted her to talk a little bit about their goals in partnering with the farmers market.
Yeah, so we are very pleased to be the coordinators for the Farmers Market Nutrition Program here in Tarrant County, and our role in that is to increase the consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables among WIC clients, and also also to increase the client base and knowledge of farmers markets, local produce here in the area. So it's a perfect marriage, and we're happy to help coordinate those two. And part of that work is to partner with the Cowtown Farmers Market, who all grow food within 150 miles of Fort Worth. And they contract with us through the program, and people who are WIC clients can come and use their vouchers. SNAP folks who have SNAP benefits can come and buy tokens to use at the markets, and we're also open to the public for cash and card.
Well, onions are probably already kind of at the end of their season, because onions are one of the first crops we can harvest. But as we get into June, we're starting to see tomatoes, which is, everybody loves tomatoes, green beans, eggplant, peppers, also in that same family. And we still have delicious fresh potatoes. So
in July, you can look forward to the watermelon and the cantaloupe,
yes,
and the black-eyed peas,
and the black-eyed peas, and the okra. It's just starting to come. Farmers market, I think you kind of need to approach it sort of like a chopped basket. You know, you need to go in and you need to say, wow, look at all this stuff. What can I do with this? Which is a little bit different from the way a lot of people shop, where they plan their meals and then they go to the store and get the things that they need. You kind of need to be open to whatever's available that day and be ready to shop for it. What else would you say about the vegetables you get at a farmer's market?
Well, most of them are going to be picked the day before, which means that they're way more fresh than what you're going to get in a grocery store. One of the other things that, like at our farm, we try to use organic practices, so you're not going to get anything that has any pesticides that are harmful. If we have to use them, we're only going to use ones that are approved by the organic farmers. So,
okay. Yeah, and that's an important point. You can talk to the farmer about how they grow things.
Yes,
which is really nice.
It is nice.
So that's a really great thing. Know your farmer, know your food is a slogan that the USDA has promoted for many years, and I think that's really great to have that relationship.
You get the free dirt and bacteria with it, so don't wash all of it off. And also, you know, sometimes pretty means that the growing season was great, and sometimes it doesn't. So don't be afraid of ugly vegetables. It just means that they aren't using a lot of pesticides, and if the bugs like them, they are probably really good.
Well, that's true. Actually, most of the things that are good to eat are also good for insects to eat. I know that. But yeah. Hey, I'm here with Charlie Blaylock. He's the main farmer at Shine's Farm Stand and the president of the North Central Texas Farmers Market Association. And Charlie, I just want you to talk a little bit about farmers markets and from the perspective of a farmer, and also what you'd like for customers to know when they shop at the market.
So I think the most important thing for customers to know at a farmer's market, especially in North Central Texas, is that we have a different seasonality than what you would normally see. What you think of, certainly we've had big box stores that get us to where we could have watermelons year round. At a farmer's market where people actually grow the food, we don't have that. We have to follow basic seasonality, but in Texas we have a long hot summer, which means that we kind of have all those spring crops together, and then during summer we only have summer crops, cantaloupes and okra and black-eyed peas and that kind of thing. Tomatoes stretch into the summer, but the interesting thing is that we aren't able to grow tomatoes and lettuce at the same time, so making a BLT is not a farmer's market thing in Texas.
And what about salsa? How does that ever get together, cilantro and tomatoes?
Never!
So the way it gets together for me is we can tomatoes and keep them until the fall, and in the winter is when I harvest my cilantro, and I open a jar of tomatoes, mix it with my stored onions and my stored jalapenos
And your fresh cilantro.
and my fresh cilantro, and mix that together. That's how I make salsa that way.
That's good. That's been a mystery.
Of course,
mine
there's
forever.
about 112 varieties of salsa that you can make depending on what the seasonality is. A lot of them are made with dried chilies, so it doesn't matter what time of year you make it.
Yeah, but it is challenging. I was glad you mentioned melons, because right now if you see watermelons, they could be Texas watermelons, but they're going to be coming from the valley where they're really far ahead of us in their season, and our watermelons are not here yet.
Right, our
So-
watermelons won't be here till the middle of July.
Yep.
Thanks. I like them. So a farmer organized market will be supporting the farmers that are in your neighborhood. It's best to look for a certified farmers market that ensures that they make sure that the farmers are the ones that are actually growing the food. In many rural areas, you'll find people who are reselling wholesale food, which does support a small farmer, but you're not necessarily getting what you want, so it's best to look for a certified farmers market. The second thing you wanted me to mention?
Is that through TDA?
Yeah, TDA does. Well, they
do
maintain the list of
they
certified,
maintain the
yes,
certifying list.
Yes, yes, they do. The Texas Department of Agriculture.
And how you support the local economy, right? So, so we are in fact your neighbors as much as we have neighbors in North Texas. We drive from the small towns around where we can afford land and drive in and grow. If there's anything we learned from COVID in our food distribution system is that the big supply chain breaks down when all the middlemen get sick. And the great thing about having local food is that we don't have that many people to pass it through. You're buying directly from the person who grew it. As long as they're not sick, then that supply chain doesn't break down.
But yeah, that's a really good point. I think this whole thing has kind of like illustrated some of the problems in our supply chain, which is really big and complicated. And the reason we can have food from all over the world all year long, but it does have some drawbacks.
Which is great, and we love that.
Yeah, it does have some drawbacks.
We do love to have food all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi there.
Hey, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're here with the farmers from Opal's Farm. Opal's Farm is a really unique partnership, and I'll let them tell you about it.
We at Opal's Farm were part of Unity Unlimited, and Unity was given as a partnership with the Tarrant Regional Water District, and they gave us 5 acres right next to downtown on the east bank of the Trinity for the sole purpose of starting an urban farm. Miss Opal, who is a longtime activist here in Fort Worth, she had developed this relationship, and it was actually kind of about 6 or 7 years before it became a reality. I joined them 2 years ago, and we broke ground last year on February 14th. The Tarrant Regional Water District has been an amazing sponsor, partner. I can't even describe them because of our relationship with them. They have been so instrumental in helping us. Currently we get to irrigate from the river, so I mean we're right there. So when we tell people to buy local, we can't get much more local than that because it's like 10 miles down the road. So
yeah. But that is really important to point out that in an urban area, there's not a whole lot of open available land for farming, and what there is has many other potential uses except for this floodplain. And so it's kind of expensive to farm in an urban area.
Exactly.
And a lot of people have to use like city water or you know, they have limited water resources. Right. So you've got some really nice resources right here in the city. You were telling us about the carrots, and I think that's a really good point. If you know, here in North Texas, a lot of our soils, of course, you're in alluvial soil in the river bottom, but a lot of our soils are pretty heavy, and so it's really hard to grow the long carrots. So it's best to get a variety that's meant to be a short carrot, because you'll have better results. Yes. And these are really adorable too. So
we had some seed that we started last year with donated seed. And some of these varieties and the things that were given have worked out so well that we carried them through. And this year when we were able to get some grant money, and we have a saying at Unity, Miss Opal, we've done so much with so little for so long that we can do anything with nothing. So that's kind of become the motto.
I would say that's probably a lot of farmers' mottos too, because you know that a farmer's always good at making things work.
What's nice about farms like ours, being a nonprofit and having other urban farms around, is we use volunteers. So we can utilize people from the neighborhood, and so we're introducing more and more people, and especially younger people, to what it's really like where your vegetables really come from, and what it tastes like to have a vegetable that's processed, or that's grown and processed right in your backyard, as opposed to 3 months ago was picked in another country and eventually got into your grocery store.
Right.
talking to this young man. He's in middle school, so 12, 13 years old. And he points and says, "What's that?"
You'd never seen a tomato.
Never seen a tomato.
Wow.
And I said, "That's a it kind of took me back because I'm like, everybody's seen it. I just assumed." And I said, "That's a tomato." And he said, "I thought they came out of cans."
Yeah.
That's the only way he'd ever seen a tomato.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we farm organically, so I brushed it off and I said, "Take a bite," and he just turned his nose up at it, and and finally convinced him to take a bite. And when he took a bite of that tomato, if you could see how his face changed when he actually tasted what one tastes like, and all of a sudden he's like, "Can I have another one?"
Yeah.
So that's part of, and that's one of the things we were talking with the education. That's part of Unity's mission too.
Right, it's part of your mission
And so
as a nonprofit
that's
organization.
such a big deal.
Education is
Such a
definitely
big
a
deal.
mission. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Let's look at their other produce here.
Thank
Got
you.
some different things.
Got some cucumbers, got some peppers, got some beets. You're probably getting toward the end of your beets and
That's-
carrots.
That's the last of the
That's
beets.
actually the last.
These are kind of cool weather crops for us, so they're kind of coming to the end of their season.
In fact, we've got a pretty good section of carrots to still harvest.
Still harvesting carrots.
But
Yeah.
we're reaching
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed some of it. But
This is Farmer Raymond Miller from M&M Farms, and we're going to talk about the way you might price things and the quantities you might sell and the things that people might see at a farmer's market. In a grocery store, you're used to seeing everything sold by the pound. But in order to sell by the pound in the state of Texas, you need to use a certified scale that's inspected by the Texas Department of Agriculture. So most farmers don't go to that expense to have a certified sale, and they sell things by some kind of volume. So talk about how you sell things, what kind of volumes you look at.
So,
Because it's
one
kind
of
of
the
all
things-
over the place.
yeah, so like pecans, for example, instead of selling a pound of pecans or 8 ounces, or we sell by the cup, how many cups, because we can volumetrically measure. And then a lot of times people will sell pints or quarts of something. Like green beans, they might sell a quart or a pint of green beans, and I always try to add a little extra just to make it, like the baker's dozen. If I'm instead of 12, we give you 13. Try to be generous.
Another interesting thing to point out here is that we can harvest things in a lot of different sizes. So with squash, for example, you can see these are really little bitty baby squash, and these are bigger squash, and we've just got a variety of sizes at all times. In the grocery store, you're probably going to see a whole lot of really uniform produce because it's all harvested at the same size, but we're harvesting lots of different sizes. Another thing you sometimes see at farmers markets are the big quantities, like a bushel or a peck.
Right.
And those are also volume measures. If you're going to buy a bushel of something, you need to have a plan for how you're going to put that up, because that's going to be a lot more than you could probably eat or your family could eat. If you're having a party maybe, or you're going to plan to freeze or can or something like that, you might want to buy that large quantity. And most farmers will be glad to sell you at a farmer's market a larger quantity of something if you're interested, so you should always just ask if you're wanting to maybe make pickles or make jelly or something like that. You just ask the farmer if they would be willing to sell you a large quantity of whatever it is.
Or maybe
that
a
you're
smaller
interested in.
quantity.
Or maybe a smaller quantity too.
Well,
exactly.
and that happens too. Somebody will go, well, I don't want this $6 basket of beans. I'd like to have $3 worth. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
fine. I'll make you a $3.
Or I'm just one person and I just want one piece of squash, and that's fine. The farmer can sell you whatever you want, whatever quantity you want it, which is great.
No.
Okay, one of our great native crops in North Texas is pecans, and M&M Farms sells pecans, shelled as Raymond mentioned by volumetric measure. So this is 4 cups of pecans, which you can make a really nice pie with that. Or this is 3 cups of pecans. You can make a very nice pie and have some to snack on. You'll notice on this little sign, these are okay to purchase with your SNAP funds, but they are not on the WIC approved list, so you can't purchase them with your WIC voucher, but you could get them with your SNAP funds. And of course, pecans are a very nutritious and healthy snack food.
If you're in doubt on what's on the different lists, we have on the back of each of these what's available through the Farmers Market Nutrition Program and what's not.
Yeah.
And pecans are specifically listed as not.
And you'll see the farmers are here ready to sell, and they literally drive up in their pickup, put down the tailgate, get the food that they just picked for you yesterday and put it out on the table. So one of the big benefits of shopping at a farmer's market is that you get food that is really, really fresh.